Oh, hey there. Guess what? We have a little special something for you here, a little bonus episode because two reasons. One, this is time sensitive, okay? The conversation that is had in this, we'll call this bonus episode, is going to be out of date in about 12 hours, okay? That is how long you have to join the post-Cincy fan zone at Fantasy United to play the fantasy game that is put together by our guest today. Okay, so this is a really, really cool app. I really enjoy what they are doing, what they are building over there at Fantasy United. We get to talk to Graham all about the ins and outs of this. I think you're really going to enjoy the conversation. However, a big part of this is the preseason bidding of players. And I don't want you to miss that if you didn't know we were doing it. So I'm dropping this episode in special now ahead of the match tonight so that you have a chance to listen, get excited about joining a fantasy league, and then joining, okay? The other part of this is because of the game on Wednesday night, that means the postcast and the World's Game are going to be delayed an extra day until Friday. Gives us a chance to actually watch the game and then have an opportunity to record our shows, okay? So that is why you're getting a bonus episode. I really enjoyed this conversation. I think you're going to love it. And yeah, we'll see you on Friday where we talk about, obviously, FC Cincinnati's 20-0 victory over O&M College. So enjoy the conversation, and we'll see you then. Oh my gosh, an incredibly special guest joining us here today, joined by somebody that you might have heard on the Total Soccer Show. You might have read him on The Athletic, MLS Soccer, The Guardian, literally anything that publishes soccer, I feel like you have written for. But my favorite thing that he does is the Soccer Dispatch Substack. The VAR series there is the best thing going for my money. But we are here to talk about Fantasy United, joined by the one and only Graham Ruthven. Graham, how are you doing today?
I am very well, Kevin. Thank you for having me on. That's quite the build up there, and it's good to know that, you know, between sometimes when I'm on the Total Soccer Show and speaking to other guys, you don't really know if anyone's actually listening. Similarly, when I'm writing the newsletter, I'm like, is anyone actually reading this? So it's reassuring to find out that it's not just myself who are reading my own words on a weekly basis. So that was very kind. Thank you very much.
Well, for my money, you're one of the hardest, if not the hardest working people in this space of soccer writers, soccer podcasters. You're doing all sorts of stuff. It is actually mind blowing. And I genuinely mean it. The VAR series, sort of writing about soccer that isn't explicitly Major League Soccer and the big five leagues in Europe, I think is like the missing thing when it comes to English soccer media. So I very much appreciate that. But no, on top of all of that, if you had just stopped there, I would have been blown away. But you went on and gone on to become the founder of Fantasy United, a new fantasy soccer app. What the heck are you doing? Did you not have enough going on?
Yeah, I thought I needed to add another plate to keep spinning over the course of the season. Yeah, so basically the story there is essentially I'm a big fantasy soccer fan, have been for years. And so we ran, and I say we, it's me and a very small team of like developers and people that I've encountered over the years, but we ran a Scottish fantasy soccer app for a long time, and that basically came from, there wasn't an FPL for Scottish football, and so we ran that for 4 seasons. We had I think 80,000 users. It was very popular, and then that was essentially like an FPL clone, essentially, that we ran. But obviously, as you know, like I kind of gravitate towards like American soccer and a lot of American soccer coverage. And when I spoke to people about fantasy soccer, I just felt that like people, because obviously a lot of American soccer fans have that awareness and exposure to like traditional American sports fantasy games, where it's obviously like draft formats and the formats are very different. And I just found like there was like a real difference between what being here in the UK, a lot of like British fans would say about FPL and what like American fans would say about FPL. And MLS Fantasy as well. Obviously, it's like a similar sort of, which is a whole talking point in itself this season. But
yes.
that's used to be anyway, a similar format to FPL. And so that just got my mind going of like, well, what if we came up with a format that people were a little bit more involved in, that felt a little bit more aligned with the soccer world and acted a little bit more like the transfer market, where you're bidding for players, you're buying players, and basically what happens in FPL, or I guess MLS Fantasy, before it kind of disappeared, was that everyone would just have Erling Haaland, everyone would just have Lionel Messi by the end of the season, or even at the start of the season, actually, with those two players. And I think a lot of people just found it a little bit mundane. So our whole mission statement as a company, as an app, is to try and kind of fix that. And we've come up with this format that behind closed doors we're kind of calling Transfer Market. We will have like other formats that we will work on. We're doing stuff for the World Cup in the summer. So we're starting off with MLS, and it's very much like geared and designed for the American soccer community. We say it's for like American soccer sickos. But eventually, over time, we will have World Cup stuff. We'll even have like Premier League stuff, but I can guarantee it's not going to be anything like FPL. It's going to be designed for the American community. Why would we take on FPL with their 13 million users? And it might even be for like other leagues, for the Champions League, or NWSL. We've had some requests for an NWSL sort of vertical as well. So this is kind of just the start of some of the things that we want to do, and it'll evolve and grow from this point on.
Yeah, I really appreciate the approach, because it does feel like, I've dabbled with, of course, the Major League Soccer product, the Premier League product, where, everybody's got the same 80-90% of a team, right? And then you've got like the little fringe guys you're taking bets on, and then everything is just goals or assists. And then I think last time I played, like the Premier League thing added like 2 bonus points if we felt like they did good that game or something. It was very vague and very weird. And there wasn't anything for like, oh, but this guy had, 5 interceptions this game.
Sure.
And, it was doing all these things. So I appreciated looking at the granularity of the scoring with this. I know you guys last year went through a sort of like beta test with Major League Soccer, or sort of like a season 0 running with this program. What have you learned from the scoring piece of the fantasy side of this?
Yeah, I mean, so there's 68 different data points. So as you say, that's very different to FPL or MLS Fantasy in the past, where, as you say, it's just like, I mean, really, if we're being real about it, in FPL, it's what? Goals, assists, and clean sheets are kind of the only, you've got your captain chip, and your vice captain doesn't even do anything. Like, that's something that's a little bit different about our game, is your vice captain, say, if it's a goalkeeper or a defender that you make your vice captain, you get double points for clean sheets, and if it's a midfielder or a forward, you get double points for goals. So like even there's a something else that you have to think about. So the challenge was, how do we make it more granular without straying like too far away from what people know, because you don't want to just bombard them with all the data that's been taken off FBref in the last month, right? You don't want to throw it at them that way.
I can't even do the research anymore.
Yeah, no, it's a real challenge. We've been doing our MLS previews this week, and we're all in mourning at not having that data particularly with like new players coming into the league that we don't know as much about. But yeah, last season, as you say, we did a beta test for the whole MLS season. It was kind of split up into different phases. I think, Kevin, you were maybe involved in it in some way, but it's one of the things we discovered is like midfielders in particular, or even like ball-playing defenders, will become very valuable, because one of our data points is about like passing accuracy, or they get a certain point if they make, I think it's 25 passes, complete 25 passes in a game, but with a certain pass completion rate. So like you're rewarding the players who maybe are at the base of the midfield, who in a standard fantasy soccer format would be completely ignored, but yet they're going to get regular points in this game. So it's trying to reward players. And I always feel with FPL or MLS Fantasy or other fantasy games, not just those two, you can watch someone in a game and think, wow, they've had a great game, and then look at your fantasy team and it's not reflected in any way at all. And so that's always going to be a challenge, right? But I think our scoring is designed to maybe account for that and make sure that the players who should be rewarded are rewarded.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. It's something that has long been missing from this game. The other thing I've noticed as I'm playing around with my little league here, and I'm currently in an epic bidding war over Christian Espinoza,
Uh-huh.
is does appear only one of us are going to get Christian Espinoza on our team. So
Uh-huh.
maybe go into more about the how this differs from that perspective on how players are allocated per team.
Yeah, so you have a budget at the start of the season. I believe if you're creating a league as a user, rather than joining a fan zone. Now, I should clarify that a fan zone is a public league. So the Post Cincy has its own fan zone. We have ones for the Total Soccer Show. We have one for Soccer Wise, and that basically is it's a function that allows us to have larger leagues because, as listeners may or viewers may have kind of cottoned onto, if you have a format where only one person can own one player, it's more difficult to have these like giant leagues like you would in FPL or MLS Fantasy. So our league numbers are capped at 20. The fan zones allow it to go to larger than 20. I think last time I checked, there's like over 100 people in the Post Cincy one.
We're chugging along, baby.
Yeah, one of the larger ones. That's great. So yeah, you have a budget at the start of the season. Some leagues, if you're creating them, you can decide to have a larger budget. You can have a medium budget. You can have a smaller budget if you really want to go hardcore. But our kind of standard budget, I think the medium one is 150 million. And then you can place bids on players, and you have a bidding budget as well, which is, if it's 150 million, it's 225 million, your bidding budget. And all that means is that basically we don't want people to just bid on absolutely every single player in the game and put people off from bidding. So basically you have to be careful with your strategy of who you're bidding for, how much you're bidding for them. And even when you get to the deadline, there's no guarantee. You could be the top bidder for every single player that you bid for. You've gone, 50 million for Messi. You've gone 50 million for, I don't know, Kevin Denke or whoever, right? And there's no guarantee that you will be able to complete your transfer. So even once the deadline passes, you have to make decisions about, right, I've won the bid for this player, but actually I don't want to use that budget to sign that player. So I'll reject that one. And what happens in that case is, if you are the second highest bidder, then the opportunity passes to you to then sign that player. So a little bit of like, some people have had questions about, I think, other fantasy models like auction models. If you aren't the top bidder, you will get like your budget back. We don't do that because even if you are the second or third or even fourth highest bidder on a player, there's still a chance that you might win. You might ultimately get the chance to sign that player once the deadline passes. So that's just a little bit of clarification on that.
I absolutely love that. No, we've been we've got a little Discord server as well. We've got a channel dedicated to the game, and it is amazing to see these sort of bidding patterns, the bidding wars in some of the other leagues within the Post Cincy. I thought I'd share with you. We have a league here. I pulled up the screenshot. The top four bidders or the top four players price tag right now. Evander, $72 million.
Oh my goodness.
We're blowing the whole budget up. That's way more than Messi at 50 million. We got Son at 36 million. You'll never guess number 4. Nick Hagland at $30 million.
That's some FC Cincinnati hardcore support there.
Know your home league. Okay, the Cincinnati fans in our case are probably going to be a little overrated. Okay, you can find value elsewhere.
and like obviously that 72 million offer for Evander is absolutely wild. But like what we think is quite appealing about the format is, okay, so whoever has bid that amount, Evander is theirs for 72 million. Yeah. But you've now got to fill the rest of your roster with much lower value, lower asset players. So yeah, you've got the marquee signing, but you're going to have to do a FC Dallas with Petar Musa and have a team of nobody's around him. So it's that's what we quite like about the format is there's some strategy there. Do you spread your bids at a lower level, but get players who are going to play every single week and maybe contribute on a lesser level, or do you want to get like the marquee players who are going to go for a higher amount of money?
Yeah, no, I absolutely love it. So then, just to help people out a little bit, let's say you've decided to moneyball your team, right? You're going to build this whole roster out with guys worth $5 to $6 million, and you're betting on players having breakout seasons. How do you go about profiting off of bidding low on a player at the start of the year?
Yeah, so essentially you are trying to build a roster, right? So this is another difference. I'm glad you led me here because this is an important differentiation between other formats. So other formats like FPL, for example, right, which is the most popular fantasy game in the world, you are basically building your first 11 in and you've got 4 subs. And that is the players who can score points every single game week, right? There's no other, that you don't have any depth beyond that. Our game is a little bit different where you can build a roster of up to 25 players. And so that idea is, because obviously you only have minimal opportunities to sign players at the start of the year, you can sign players throughout the season, but ultimately you're going to have to bid with other users. So for example, your friend in your league who's going to buy Evander for 72 million, someone could come along midway through the season and go, do you know what? Actually, I'll pay 80 million for Evander, and they can sell them mid-season, right? But it's going to be more difficult to get those players than pre-deadline. And so we want people to stock their rosters. We do have rolling locks between games as well in game weeks. So say injury news comes out, you can make decisions between games about which players in your roster you want to sub out. But we don't have auto subs because we want people in the weekend to be active with those rolling locks. But that everything is like geared towards, we want people to build a roster. So for example, I'm going to give away one of my strategy ploys here with the team I'm building in my league. So Iago Teodoro, who's signed for Orlando, a Brazilian centre-back, captain of the U20 Brazil World Cup team. Everything I've read said he's probably not going to start at the start of the season. It's probably going to be Robin Janssen and Brekalo as the centre-back pairing. But I think by the time we get like a couple months down the line, he's going to be a starting player. So I don't know if people have totally cottoned onto that. So I want him for my roster, and then I can just keep him in the back of my roster for later in the season and then bring him into... Because basically what you're doing is you're picking an 11 for every game week, right, from your roster. So yeah, that's how you can benefit from, if you want to moneyball it and you see a couple young players who think maybe they're not going to hit in game week 1, but by the time we get to game week 20, this guy is going to be cooking. That's how you can maybe game the system a little bit.
Oh, that is perfect. And that's what I was going to ask you next, is like tips and tricks. And I think that's exactly it, right? It's spend money on players early, because this is sort of the quote unquote easiest time to acquire them. And then have an eye for what the season might look like 3 months from now, post World Cup, whatever that looks like. I think that's great. Where would people go to play this?
So they can find it on the Google Play Store and the App Store. Just search for Fantasy United. I should clarify that at this moment in time, we're only operational in the US. I don't know if you've got any Canadian listeners or people outside the USA. I don't know what FC Cincinnati's global appeal is, but you surely have some people around the world who listen.
It has come up, and I've got to be honest, I'm wondering how you play.
Well, I've got, that VPN we were talking about for the DMs and Blue Sky. That might be how I get around it. Yeah, but you can find us in the Google, in the Android or the Apple App Store. If you go to futd.app, there's also links there. We're also doing like a little bit of blogging, because this is a project for us. When I say it's not finished, I don't want people to think like if they play the game they're going to discover like 1,000 million bugs. It's a playable game, like it's a fully fledged format. As you said, we did a full beta test last year, so we're very confident in that regard. But we will continue to add ideas, and we want to hear like feedback. If you have an idea of something that could be a little bit better, or something that could add a new quirk to the game. Like for example, one thing we'd like to add for the World Cup, this is idea that we've got called Agent, where basically you designate 5 players before the deadline that you are willing to bid like up to a certain level, and it almost does like an auto bidding system, and it's like the idea being it's your agent who's working on your behalf. So there's loads of things like that we'd like to bring into the game. But yeah, we're also on Blue Sky, Twitter as well, Fantasy United, just basically looking to grow the community as large and as quickly as we can, because we really do think we're onto something. And obviously, the fantasy landscape in American soccer has shifted a little bit in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, right.
We're really excited to get going, because this has been something we've been planning for quite a while.
No, I was so excited when you reached out about the potential of the post Cincy getting a fan zone, because I kid you not, an hour or two prior to getting that DM, I had set up a league. I was like, well, we got to do this. Like, I'm all in on this. This is great. It's public now. This will be a blast. And I was like, oh yeah, no, that would be way easier. Thank you for doing all of the heavy lifting for us. I got one piece of feedback right now. Take it or leave it.
Go for it.
I want, because it's Major League Soccer, we got to have complicated rules. Give me discovery rights. Let me pre-claim 5 players outside of MLS that should Lewandowski come in post-World Cup, I've already got a $10 million offer out there for him, or whatever it is.
Even if someone else has already pre-owned him, like a real Charlotte on Miggy Almiron, like discovery rights in the player that they previously owned with Atlanta. Yeah.
It won't get weird and complicated at all. You'll introduce GAM in a couple of years. It'll be super easy.
Yeah. And just finally on the fan zone that you mentioned there, like people... Yeah. Have maybe seen the fan zones on the homepage of the app, or we've been pushing them on our socials. I know, Kevin, you've been pushing it with the post Cincy one as well. What people are seeing right there, that's going to become, see, once games actually start, that's going to become so much more interesting, because that homepage is going to become like a dashboard of like an overall leaderboard. So that's nice. Like the idea with the fan zone is, obviously leagues themselves, like individual leagues, are capped at 20 players for the format that for the format purposes that I described. But those leagues, are bound together in the fan zone, and then they're ranked against everyone else. So your 5 people in your fan zone are all going to get ranked against each other. And within that fan zone, there's going to be stats. There's going to be user stats, like the most, who's paid the most for a player. There's a group chat in there as well, which I'm sure you've already seen. So those fan zones are really like kind of the lifeblood of the game and the app, and we're really excited to get those going as well.
No, it's perfect. This is how so many MLS fans are sort of fans of the league. They find themselves, following particular outlets and sort of content creators or what have you. And I really, really think it's smart that this was sort of built out that way. So, Graham, you've been incredibly generous with your time. We'll have links to all of your socials and everything else. So please, follow Graham, subscribe wherever he is publishing things. You're probably already subscribed because he's publishing everywhere. But no, Graham, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you very much, Kevin. That was really, really fun to be on.
Hi, I'm doing this ad because my dad said it was cheaper than paying intern Luke. If you like FC Cincinnati and you're still listening to this stupid podcast, you might also like the stuff that is for sale on the Post website. There are some designs on there that are pretty neat, and some that needed a little more work. There is even a reversible bucket hat that says Noonan out on one side and Noonan in on the other side, which I've been told to say is very funny. If you even buy something, Chief might even release away days. Go to thepostcincy.com and click merch. Or don't. That's okay too. Okay, thanks, bye.